If AfterSight podcasts are part of your week, donate today at aftersight.org/donate. AfterSight is a nonprofit, and your support keeps these programs on the air and expands access for people who are blind, have low vision, or need other access to print. Be the reason someone discovers AfterSight this week.
Hello, I'm Kim Wardlow. I am your host for Navigating Life with Vision Loss. And we are in our sports series here at NLVL. So we're covering all types of sports and all levels of sports, I would say. So whether you're just trying to get back into the gym or going to the gym for the first time, to you're somebody who is either doing or wants to do extreme sports. So we have some of everything for you. And today I'm really excited because we're talking about team sports, and team sports have a different dynamic than some of the individual sports that we've talked about. And my guest today is Ashley Thomas. She is the founder of Bridge to Sports, which is an adaptive sports program for a whole variety of different types of disabilities, for folks that have different types of disabilities. And she's a dot connector. And so I always love talking to people that are connectors, because I think that's it's just so fun and it's so important and helpful when you have folks that can connect you. But Ashley, welcome. What would you like to tell folks about yourself?
Oh, what would I like to tell folks about myself? Well, since we're speaking to predominantly blind people, let me do a little description of myself so you know a little bit about me. I was born with spina bifida, and that is a congenital birth defect that affects the base of your spine. So I am now a wheelchair user. I also have gray hair that has a tinge of purple for those who knew what purple was before you lost your sight. I am 63. And I still love to play. And that was the first introduction I got as the founder, because I released my role of CEO on January 1 of this year. Yeah. So I'm excited that I'm in a new place. And, you know, when you're not the leader, you really do get to play. So I'm very excited to do some different things. So thank you for having me. I am the mother of 3 grown children, so that's another interesting thing. And I came into sport late. It was really after starting the organization, and I realized how much sport does make a difference. And I had the privilege and honor of competing and wearing a jersey that had USA on it in para-kayak. And I was at the front runner before it became a Paralympic sport. And my highest ranking was 4th in the world.
Wow.
And I was at the ripe old age of 48. So
wow.
It's not too late to play, people.
That's right. Never too late to start.
No, never too late. And that was an honor. Whoever thought that would be something I'd get to experience. But the journey teaches a lot. So I love sport. And I believe everyone can play, regardless of if you're missing limbs, you can't see, your legs don't work, you're missing arms. Sport can be adapted, but it teaches you so much about yourself. And I love that about sport.
Well, and as you said, you're a wheelchair user. You are sighted, but you have worked with blind individuals with Bridge to Sports, so you're very familiar
Yes, I have.
with the adaptive sports for folks who are blind or have low vision.
Yes. And over the course of time, we had a young man, DJ, who did make it to paracycling at the elite level, but we do a year-round cycling program, and so many interesting stories having to think about new equipment that we need. Because we have an aging population and we needed e-assist. And I just want everyone to know, when I say it's not too late to play, it really isn't. There are funds that allow the adaptive equipment to be purchased, like the e-cycles, the tandem, recumbent e-cycles. A recumbent is a bike that you sit on and you have the balance of 2 wheels behind you and 1 wheel in front, but it will connect to another bike built the same way, but has an e-assist, because the muscles there. It's a little different for the pilot to run that, especially in North Carolina, which is where I am. We have hills.
Yeah.
But the last bike we got, and we had a foundation grant us that because we needed, it's our third one that we got, but it's 15,000. And I say that and everyone's mouth drops. Don't let the number scare you, because in all of our communities, this Sertoma, the so many community groups will help you raise money to get those bikes, and we just have to learn how to ask. So anyway, but we had to shift from upright recumbents and tandems to going more to upright tandems to recumbent bike, because as some of our athletes have aged, they've lost balance and they don't feel as confident on an upright tandem, but they make recumbent tandems. So we hope we have some of those to be riding out there when they're 80. But the bottom line is it can be done.
Well, and I just want to talk and dig a little bit more into the benefits of team sports. And
Okay.
obviously there's the sport itself. You may be in goalball or beep ball or, whatever the team sport might be. And there's the technicalities of learning that and the adaptive sports. But, and we will probably talk about some of those specifics a little bit later. But I wanted to really talk to you about, because I know I've heard one good story that you've told about this, just the benefits, because sometimes individuals that have, well, really any disability, but of course we're mostly focused on being blind or having low vision, may not have had an opportunity to participate in a team sport. And so all the things that you can learn from that and how it can build you. I know from the Bridge to Sports website, one of the core principles says, we are about people development. Sport is a tool used to build confidence, self-control, independence, and expectation of ability. So that really hit me. And I thought, well, deciding to participate in a team sport and learn that sport really can bring so much more to the person than just the skill in the sport itself.
Yeah. Well, the story you're referring to it's a story of humility. It's a story of awakening. It's a story of learning I was not a good teammate because I never had the opportunity of playing sport growing up. And I have 3 children, as I said, and sport does teach you things. So my life, I lived in England for 7 years, and we came home, and a lot of transition. I'm working on trying to write my story, because people go, tell me it's too much. And I go, yes, it is. I can't even deal with it. Anyway, but my daughter, she was a junior in high school, and they were doing a fundraiser at her school for arthritis, of which I had arthritis. I had, at that point, I think 5 hip replacements. So due to arthritis. And so I knew that one really well. So we thought it'd be fun. And I had never done a race in my wheelchair. In fact, I had recently transitioned into a wheelchair. So even though I had spina bifida, I walked, but I couldn't run and I couldn't play sport. I couldn't be in the marching band. I didn't have balance. So I was not able to do any of that. But when I got into a wheelchair, I went, wow, this is a little bit easier. I don't have the balance issue. I have more endurance because I'm not exhausted from thinking, pick one leg up, put it down, because I have insensitive legs. And so I went to the Y. And when I went to the Y, when I grew up, I tried to go to the Y. I tried to go to a gym, but because of spina bifida, I was deemed too high risk. And so I wasn't allowed. So I had a real negative mindset. And I want to share that because we all will have a negative mindset. It comes in the journey of disability because we've been told no one too many times, maybe. And so a friend kept saying, no, you can go. And I said, no, I don't want to go and get rejected. I tried this dozens of times over my life. And so she pretty much yanked me up and said, we're going. And my first rule of thumb is when you try something new, always do it with a friend. Don't ever do it alone because you're overwhelmed with a new experience anyway. And if you need an advocate, get someone who can advocate for you, because now you can't shut me up. But back then, it didn't take much to shut me up. And so we went, and she was right. They had changed the rules, and they would allow me to be at the YMCA. So that was an awakening, and it's a truth that we all will hit in our lives. I don't care what the disability is. I don't care how it happened. We get a lot of no's, and often our brains will just put the wall up and go, I'll live in my little tiny world of no's. And I want to encourage anyone who might be listening, challenge that in your mind to get past it, because there's a world out there that will awaken to you that you'll love. So anyway, found a trainer. This was all new to me. They were using words, language, biceps, triceps. Here, get on this machine. What is this machine? No, I don't know what this machine is. So it was a pretty fun learning curve. And I had a great trainer who was phenomenal. And she was intuitive, understanding what muscles I needed to do, how not to burn out my shoulders, because I ended up doing backward laps in the gym so that I wouldn't off balance my shoulders. So I did my 5K with my daughter. We never try to run together. No, of course not. Why would you do that?
No practice, dress rehearsal for this event.
No, we're just doing it, baby. And the funny thing is, being a mom, and I have a wonderful daughter, she's grown, but we were going to look cute, because in every race, it's called the Jingle Bell Run, right before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
We need to look cute. I knew nothing about athletic gear, and so I bought us both black velour little jumpsuits. And they gave us this beautiful white long sleeve t-shirt to wear. And then we both had matching Jingle Bell earrings because it was the Jingle Bell Run. I thought,
Right.
oh, that'd be cute, jingle, jingle. And to top it off, we had a little snowman with jingle bells on it. So you would hear us running, jingle, jingle, jingle. And then to make it like with the cherry on top, we had red boas.
Oh,
And
my.
God bless my daughter. She wore it too. She was a little wiser than me, but I think she was like, oh, I'm going to help mom
Yeah,
here.
she's gonna be in it with you. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, we'll do it. Yes, mom, we'll do it. Sure, we'll do it. So we show up and we go in, and I look, and they have, your little food, and where you register. And I'm thinking, looking around going, oh, we are not dressed appropriately for this. So my second thing is, never make fun of anyone or say anything ugly if someone shows up unprepared. Most likely it's the first time they've ever done it. And welcome them and say, come on in. Let me show you around. So, but I have my daughter with us, so we were mortified together, going, we are not dressed appropriately. And trying to figure out what we're doing and trying to get the lay of the land. We're both anxious. And then the race director comes up and he says, I think he may even said, wheelchair, you're going first. And I was like, what? I said, no, I've never done, this is my first race. I've never done a race before. I'm following. I'm like, I'm in the back. I'm following. No, the wheelchairs go first. He was very gruff, very authoritative.
This is how it's done.
Actually have to be at these races because it's got to go right. And in truth, he was correct, because the wheelchairs need to be out front so that people can get around them. And if you get around them, you're fast enough, they won't catch up with you. And it's a safer environment. So I thought, Lord, where do we go? And he said, you need to be on the line in 1 minute. And I'm like, oh. So we go out there, and, you see what the track is. And if you're blind and you want to run, have someone walk the path with you. So you know what the track feels like, you know what the ground feels like, you know what the angles feel like. This was on a road, and so obviously we couldn't do that. But I had driven it, so I understood. We had 4 hills, but we had to start down on a 5th hill that was way worse than the other 4 hills. And so the police car, the race director told me to go. The police didn't go. They were supposed to escort first. So we're on the side of the road, and I think your blind population will understand this. But when you're walking and you feel an angle, or your ankle goes over to the side, and you've got to counterbalance with your feet to stabilize.
Right.
Well, in a wheelchair, the angle of the road it cambers off to each side, so the water goes to the drain. So when you're on that angle, you're sideways pushing. One arm is doing all the work. The other arm is just trying to steady it to keep straight. And I thought, I'm never going to make it. I'm not going to make it up this hill. And that police car would not move. So by the time we got in front of him, oh, now they're going to go. And I'm thinking, great, buddy. That would have been helpful, because my strategy was, and you always need to have a strategy. That's part of what you do when you're walking and you're figuring out your plan. Where do you need to take a break, or where do you need to do a recenter, or where do you need to breathe again, or whatever. But my plan was to be at the top of the road. So I was at the evenest part of the road so I could use both my shoulders. So we get up the first hill and we are overheating. Yes, we are, because are we dressed appropriately? No, we're not. And so my daughter, she's like, wow, and she's throwing her bow off and she's wrapped it up in front of her. And I said, oh, take mine too. So she's grabbing mine off. And then she's going up the road. We're going up the second hill now. She's unzipping her velour jacket. And now she's carrying that. And I said, Joe, I need mine too. So we're trying to get mine off while we're still going up this hill. And then she starts taking off. And I'm like, Joe, wait for me. You're supposed to stay with me. And my beautiful, faithful daughter stayed with me. And so we're going up this hill, and we get to the top of the hill. And again, first time doing this race, I had enough sense to wear gloves, but I did not understand what centrifugal force would be going against the wheel of my tire in my hands going down that hill. So we get up around the bell tower. We're going right back down. My arms and my shoulders are burning like I've never had them burn before in my life. Never at the gym did I have this. And there was also a sense of, wow, this is amazing. My cardio was decent. I could still breathe. So I'm kind of like, wow, I just did 5 hills. This
You're
is
happy
good.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you will always have those times where you're not prepared, but go anyway, because you'll learn that you're capable more than you thought you were. But you will never know that if you don't try. So now we're going down the hill. My arms are hurting and I'm shaking them out, going, oh my gosh. Now I'm trying to slow my wheel down. My hands are getting burned
Ooh.
because I did not realize how fast I would be turning down that hill. So there's a way that you manage that. You kind of zigzag and you use one hand to brake, the other hand you slow yourself down. I didn't know any of this. I'm just praying I don't hit a pothole and flip out of my chair and break a limb, because that can happen. Well, I'm starting to go down the hill, realizing I'm having problems. And my daughter is now carrying, and imagine, for you who are blind, put your arms out in front of you. Pretend like you've got a big blanket that you've taken off the couch, or you're changing your bed, and you're running with that in front of you, because that was the position my daughter was, because we overheated. She's carrying all the crap that we shouldn't have been wearing. And so she's running down. I'm way in front of her, and she's going, Mom, wait for me. I waited for you. And
You can't get the chair to be that slow.
no. And we knew nothing. It was terrible. And I'm like, I can't even communicate with her to go, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. My hands are burning up. So we go down, and I will tell you, at the bottom of the 4 hills, she went back to home base because she's carrying all this crap. And I am now probably half a block in front of her and just running. And so I completed the race. So we'll get down to the next part of lessons learned. And when I got back to the start, my daughter's there. And she said, I will never run a race with you again. You are a terrible teammate. And I said, yeah, I was a terrible teammate. Now time has gone on and we have done more races together. But what I will say is I didn't know. I didn't have a race plan. I didn't understand what might happen, because I practiced in a flat gym and I'd done all the miles, and I had, my cardio was good. I didn't know about the hills. And, when she heard what was going on, she saw my glove. She said, oh my gosh, did it melt on your hands? So, I mean, we learned from that. But I didn't communicate well. We thought we knew the plan. I didn't even know how to do a course correct when our team had fallen apart, and I'm just still racing forward, and she's carrying all the stuff. And, it's like, toodaloo, baby, I'm moving on. I also learned that when you have a problem, you can stop. I could have figured out where to stop to the side, and we regathered ourselves. But you won't know to do that until you go through it. No, I didn't do any of that right. And then talk about what were the hard things. What are the things we could communicate? Like, what if I have another hill? I've done other races with people, and if there are hills in them, of course there are. We're in North Carolina. I always go, look, here's the deal. I've got to take advantage of every hill I get to get up the next one. So if I miss you, you'll catch me up when I'm going up the next hill, because you'll be quicker than I am. And I'm not trying to leave you behind. And also, when I'm going down those hills, my hands are burning, and I will be going as fast as I can and manage my time. And I'm not with you, but I am with you. So now you know how to explain what your needs are, and so that they understand we're still together, even if at parts of that course you're not together. And then, the other thing is that one of our mission pieces, I am a big believer that everyone is capable of doing a sport of some sort. And I think discover and try and have the freedom to figure those pieces out, so that you do learn, I am very good at this, or I am really good at this. Or I hate that sport. I do not like hand cycling, because the way my hips and my knees and everything's set from surgeries as a child with my feet, it is horribly uncomfortable for me. And I get into pain because my knee, ankle, and hips are not in alignment.
So sometimes it's what you like too, because sometimes the sport you're best at might not be the one you enjoy the most. And often it is, I think, because you're good at it, but not always.
No, that's true. And don't be afraid. And I got into kayaking because we had so many people wanting to kayak, and all I can imagine is people drowning, and I couldn't save them because I don't use my legs. And that's where they found out I had the talent for kayaking, and I absolutely adore it. It is a sport I love. I love it. I was decent at wheelchair basketball, but I love kayaking so much better. So that's a very fair point, Kim, is to not be afraid to explore and then find the thing that you love, because you'll keep doing that forever.
Mm-hmm. And what about when I can see this, and it's not necessarily because a person has a disability, even if one doesn't, it can still happen, where you feel like you're the new person on the team. Maybe you're just learning a sport. Maybe your particular disability, you do require some help, maybe some help from someone who's sighted. How can people reframe in their mind what may feel like, well, I'm just a burden on everybody. I'm the weakest link on the team, to saying, no, you're being courageous when you ask for help. You're just stating, as you said, you're communicating, you're stating your needs, and you may find you're able to help someone else in some other way.
Yes. I think that's a really fair question, Kim. I think there are people, whether you have a disability or not, as humans, we don't necessarily like to ask for help. I think when you have definite limitation, where you do need help, people's responses can make us feel either, I don't mind asking, or, I don't have time. Okay. So my caution would be to able-bodied or anyone helping, really watch your attitude, because we are super sensitive to whether, we feel like we're being a burden or not. And I struggle with the same thing. So let me just say, I'm amongst everyone else. I'm careful. In fact, I was telling someone recently she and I kayaked, she and her husband and I, they were my kayaking buddies. And I was telling her how much they always joyfully help me whenever I need to get, because I can't get my boat down off the top of the car and into the water. But then there were others who did it, but they did it a little bit begrudgingly. And sometimes I think people who are begrudging, it's because they don't know how to help. So if we can figure out how to very clearly give instruction, then they know, yes, I can do it. And they know the length of the instruction is, I need you to do this, then this, then this, and this. When we're done, I'm going to need you to do this and this and this and this. And then they know, oh, I can do that. Because I think the able-bodied world or the sighted world, they don't want to hurt us. They don't want us to put us in jeopardy. And they're not confident they know they can do everything we need. So I think when we're asking to be able to tell the full component of, I want to walk around the block and I have a tether. What is a tether? It's a string, because I want to eventually run. And I'm saying all this because if you're going to run, there is a process to teaching that. But I just want to walk around the block. And if there's a stump, I need you to tell me there's a stump. If there's a crack in the sidewalk, I need you to tell me there's a crack in the sidewalk. If I trip, I'm going to hold tight on that tether. So just know, if you feel it, I just stumbled a little bit. And then when we're done, we're done. Let's go get a drink. Let's go get Coke. Let's go get water. Let's go get an ice cream. Ice cream's my
favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite go-to. Let's go get an ice cream afterwards. And then, if you need a ride from your house, well, what I need you to do is text me and say, you're here. I will come down. It'll take me 3 minutes. Because then they aren't worried. Are they coming? Do I need to go out and get them? But I think some of the anxiety or angst from someone helping to asking for help is we aren't clear. And I certainly wasn't clear. When I understood sport better and understood what being a team was, I became much better at saying, here's what I need and here's how it will work. Will this work for you? What do you need? So do I need to communicate more with you? And I think that's the part I failed in, is how do we talk to each other so that we're working as a unit? And it's a skill. You may not get it right in the beginning, but when you come back and say, help me to understand again, did I say something? Did this word not mean something to you? We did a clinic at one of our blind schools in North Carolina. And there was this wonderful man. He was such a strong advocate. He was a blind man. And we were teaching how to learn how to run with a tether. And I'm in a wheelchair. And, we were the only two left because we had the kids and the younger people went first. And I said, you want to try it? And he said, sure. I said, look, I'm going to put the tether in my mouth. So I was biting on it. And I said, but you've got to stay taut against me, because if you come into the right or to the left, whichever way it was on, you're going to run into my wheel and I'm going to run over your foot. And it's not going to feel good.
Yeah, that would be bad.
No, that would be bad. And I said, are you up for the challenge? And so we talked it through. We put the tether in my mouth. He pulled it because I didn't want to lose teeth either. So it's like, oh, no, we had to figure out how much he could pull.
Right.
And we did. We went around, someone in a wheelchair and someone who's blind. We did the exact same thing everybody else was doing. But we had to sit down and talk it through, because I had a wheelchair. That could be a thing that would hurt him.
Right.
And I couldn't really talk with the tether in my mouth. So we had to kind of figure that out.
You couldn't
so that
communicate too much while you were actually going, once you started.
Yes, you can. And then
could you, if you had the tether in your mouth, though?
Well, that's not so good.
Yeah.
I don't think as well.
Yeah.
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 But I also think sometimes not talking when you're in it, because you got to kind of focus on what's happening with your body to say, is this working? Oh, this is uncomfortable. Can we do this? Or, my back of my leg is starting to pull. Well, okay, let's stop and stretch some more. So I think letting them explore what their body's doing and focus on that. That's my approach anyway, is see how you're doing. How's your breathing? Are you breathing at the top of your lung? You're getting the lung, breath all the way down from your stomach, because that's what you need if you're going to do sport. You need deep breathing. Are you sweating quickly? Is your body overheating fast? Is your heart rate up because now it's the first time you've done something? Those are things we want to pay attention. And I will say with everyone, you can control your heart rate by your breathing.
Yes.
But you've got to be taught how to do that. And so there's a lot of YouTube videos on breathing. So if you're thinking, I'm going to try this thing, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I'm losing breath and my heart's running crazy, breathing will help you reset that. And there's a lot of, like I said, YouTube's fantastic with people teaching different things. But I think for me, when someone's starting, I want them to kind of see what they're doing. And then I'm watching them too, to see how their body's responding. And but don't be afraid of that. Sometimes, you think, oh, am I going to have a heart attack? No, it's just your heart hasn't worked like that before. And if you get anxious, take a minute, do some big inhales and big exhales. Do 3 or 4 of those, your heart rate will come down, and then start again. But I think that's the other part. When you don't know how your body's going to respond to activity, you get scared. But I don't know. That was a long-winded answer for how to ask for help. But the bottom line is we all need help. I needed help getting in a kayak. Kids trying to learn how to get in a basketball chair when their legs don't work. There's techniques. And I think the biggest thing that holds us back is we're afraid to ask and communicate and say, and there's nothing wrong with saying you're feeling comfortable. And if you want someone to address you in a certain way, maybe you don't hear in your left ear or your right ear. And I have friends like that. So I have to know where they are so I can speak to them and they hear. But, if you're blind and you also are deaf in one ear,
Yes.
you need to say, hey, I need you to speak whichever ear you're hearing from.
Right.
And don't be ashamed of that. That is how you're going to be successful. And also, when you say it, hold that chin up and put that head high and speak so they're confident in what you're saying. So I don't know. I have a whole thing on how to help people who are blind keep their head up. It's an exercise we did with DJ before he got on the Paralympic cycling team, because his body position was not in a position to do sport because his head was down. Can I talk about this?
Yeah, well, it would throw you off balance, I would think, if your head...
It absolutely does. And so what I did, it was something when my mom was trying to help me walk straight because I didn't have a good walk. I practiced, but she would have me put a book on my head and try to really think about heel down and then, how you walk through. And I couldn't do it. I could not keep that book on my head to save my soul, but I tried. But if your body structure is good, if you put a book at the top of your head and you take steps, it helps you to hold your chin up and your shoulders will get more in a straight position, because often when we're looking down and you're moving down, your whole shoulder and your whole chest and everything is moving forward. And when your body is forward, your head can weigh 3 to 4, in some cases, tall people, 5 pounds. It will throw you off. And it's whether you're playing goal ball, whether you're running, cycling, it doesn't matter. That body weight will throw you off. So, positioning and kind of getting your body structure in a good space is helpful. But I think a really easy exercise you can do at home is putting a book on your head and just walking and keeping that book up there. And it's a good way to train. If you are doing that, you will be tired. Your head does weigh 3 to 5 pounds, and those muscles in your neck will be yelling at you after you're doing that for 1 minute. So my rule of thumb, do it for a minute for a week, then go up to 2 minutes the next week and 3 minutes the next until you get your alignment right. But it does take a while because there's fine muscles all in there, and you need all those to play sport. Sorry, that was an aside.
No, that's good. That's good. I think we don't always think about those things that we can get, especially if you're listening to a phone, or we get
Yes.
bent over, because we spend a lot of our time, if we're on computers or we're kind of bent over anyway, and to really
Absolutely.
practice
Yes,
that.
you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Let's move on to beep baseball. So that's
Yep.
a sport that's been adapted.
Yes. That the ball makes sound, and North Carolina used to have quite a bit. We don't right now. It ran through Parks and Rec. For anyone out there who might be involved in the blind community, Lions Club industry hires people who are blind to do work. It came out of World War II. In North Carolina, we have 3 Lions Club industries where they do a lot of government contracts. So we just had a larger population. But the beep ball is a ball that makes noise. They're expensive. I think it's one of the reasons the sport was hard to sustain, because the balls were so expensive.
Right.
But what I'd like to suggest is look at your universities that have any tech. Most of the engineering programs, the students have to create solutions. And that is one that is a really good project for, first, second year engineers to come up with ways of making a ball. And the technology keeps changing, that I wonder now if there's some new tech that would make those balls not as expensive as they were. But effectively, it's a baseball that has sound in it, and it's pitched, and the base has a sound in it. That's what it is, right? And so that's how you get around the court. You obviously the course, the 4 bases. It needs to be played in a place that's more silent. And we did a demo. This was almost 20 years ago, because we did have a strong program here. And we had the firemen playing the blind baseball players. And the firemen had to put on blackout goggles. And I'll tell you, they looked like drunk men on the field. And it was a wonderful display, like just to show what skill one learns who are blind, because they hit that ball, they got to the base, they got around the base, and you would have never known they weren't sighted. And I think that shows the beauty of what skill and what aptitude, when you're blind, what things you're cultivating that the sighted world has no comprehension of, and that there's so much capability there. But that's, again, another team sport, learning how to communicate and teaching skill to the next one, so you have a team.
Yeah. What about blind soccer, or depending what country you're in, blind football?
Yes, football, is that, or is that
Football.
soccer?
Yeah, soccer.
I'll be honest, I don't know much about it. I know it exists, but I do not know. We've never played it in our area.
Okay.
So you are right. It does exist, but it is not one that we have done. I would also encourage anyone, YouTube, Canada has done a really good job. Their Paralympic side, they've done a ton of training. That's tended to be where I went to get information. The US is not as organized as the UK or Canada. I say that because their information's in English, so you can read it, or you can have it, you'll understand what they're telling you. So I would go there if anyone's interested in it. But you need to be where there's a pretty big population of blind people, and obviously young, because there's a lot of cardio and breathing in that. But it's not one I know, and it's not one that I've done or promoted. Yeah. So I failed on that.
That's
I'm sorry.
okay. That's all right. And I know here, we've had some blind hockey here, and I know our adult Colorado team has disbanded, but I know there's still some youth blind hockey, and similar issues with pucks as with
Yes.
baseballs. So there are different things that people can explore, what's available in their area, because it definitely varies.
Or don't be afraid to say, I want to start something.
That's
And
true
then-
too.
Because the thing is, within the blind community, they know each other and they are communicating with each other. And I would not be afraid to go, let's pull it together. Who can we talk to who will help us with all the other pieces? There's one other sport I would like to should suggest,
Sure.
and it's bocce. And it was also adapted from the able-bodied bocce for more cerebral palsy, MS, muscularly affected sport on the Paralympic side. And then it's not Paralympic, but they've adapted it for blind. And we do that at one of the events, Valor Games. We always have a court for veterans who are blind and low vision. And where the jack ball is thrown out, you actually just put some sort of a noisemaker there, and then they throw to the jack. Handy Life, coming out of the UK, has built again a whole system where you can feel the court. So they made it tactile, so you know where your competitors are, you know where the jack ball is, and you know where you're throwing to based on your seat. And I used to demo this a lot when we were doing a training with OTPT or students who are going into adapted PE, but often they threw better blind just listening to that sound than sighted throwing to the ball. And it was one of the best visual thing you could see, that sometimes we overthink it. Just hear and listen and throw and then see where you go. But it helps you to see how you need to shift your brain, because we can all do things and sometimes sight doesn't help you. So that was always fun. I used to demo that all the time while I was doing presentations, because it was an easy one for everyone to go, wow, that's amazing. But it also helps them open up that blind people are very amazing too, and they're capable of doing things that we don't see or understand yet. So bocce is a great one, and we definitely utilize that one. And it's a sport too, as you get older and you may not be able to jump up and down and do the goal ball thing. It's a great sport. It's a team one. You work as teams, or you can play it individually. So that would be one. And then one other one I'd like to share, we've done this one, is kayaking.
Yes.
So we have had people start, and by listening, typically you tether them, but we had them kayaking independently based on talking, and they understood how to go straight based on experience on the water. So I would encourage anyone, you always wear a life jacket. That's our rule. You never get on a boat without a life jacket.
Right.
So because things can happen, you get scared, and even if you say, I can swim, great, but things can happen and you get freaked out, and
Right.
then you have an accident. But kayaking can also be adapted for blind and low vision. So that's one we have had experience with.
Well, Ashley, you've given us so much information and so much great information about approaching, joining a team sport, things to think about, things to learn, and just be okay with the fact that we all have to learn these things as we join teams. Do you have any final thoughts or words for folks, or for somebody maybe who's thinking, maybe I will try a team sport?
It. Let's do the Nike thing. Just do it. You will learn so much about yourself. And one of the things that I would say now in my life, and I said I was 63, I am now fearless. I will try anything. And it's because I have tried and I have failed, but I didn't quit. And I said, let me figure out another way to do it. And I think when you're limited, we know fear so closely because we know our vulnerabilities. We know what we can't do. We embrace the world that often has a harsh consequence because of our limitation. But what I want to say is, don't be shut down by it. Learn it, figure it out, and go after it. Because you'll be a strong person, a confident person, a person who will recruit someone else to follow you because you know what the journey is. And you will be someone who may take someone who has no hope and give them hope. because what your journey was. So go after it. Just do it.
Ashley, that is a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you.
And to all of you out there listening, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. We will be continuing on with our sports. We'll have some in-depth programs on sports like Go Ball and Beep Ball that will give you much more information than we did today. But those are coming. And this program, Navigating Life with Vision Loss, is brought to you by Aftersight, which is a nonprofit. Aftersight also has Blind Sight, The Blind Chick, and Blind Level Tech podcasts as well. So be sure to check those out also. And as always, we hope that the information that you heard today helps you navigate your life with vision loss.
If Aftersight podcasts are part of your week, donate today at aftersight.org/donate. Aftersight is a nonprofit, and your support keeps these programs on the air and expands access for people who are blind, have low vision, or need other access to print. Be the reason someone discovers Aftersight this week.